Well guys, it finally showed up. This is my new 2023 Honda Civic Type R. Super excited to finally have this in the garage. Pretty wild to see this thing next to the BRZ. I will be holding on to the BRZ. I did sell my Volvo 850R. I sold it to a buddy of mine, so I can always buy it back if I want to. But it's in good hands, and it's actually really close by, so I can kind of go drive it too if I want to. It's not entirely gone. Of course, 4Runner was sold a long time ago. So right now, the fleet is Type R, BRZ. BRZ gets winter duty, Type R gets track duty, and it's a kind of daily driver duty. The practicality of this car is really appealing to me, and one of the big reasons why I wanted to get one. So I can fit my son's rear-facing child seat back here, and there's room for a passenger. I can fold down the seats, throw my mountain bike in the back, and I can take this thing out to the racetrack, rip around, and just have a blast. This is one of the most fun and enjoyable track cars I've driven this year, and the time at Sonoma was just insane. So really excited to get this out on track in the spring. But for now, let's take it out. We're gonna do some break-in miles. Let me just walk you around a few things here, because we didn't do much of a walk around in the California videos. Pretty much standard Honda Civic hatchback back here. No spare tire. If I wanted to throw a compact spare tire back here for a road trip, I probably could. We'll see. I'll do some research. There are a few options out there that will fit over the brakes, and it might be a future video someday. Just crazy about the design of this car. The spoiler is so subtle, it goes a little bit more unnoticed, I think, compared to the FK8 that had the white sides. This car is still a mess, haven't detailed it yet. I think I might wait until late winter to do that, honestly. We'll just kind of leave it grimy and throw some protective coating on here. I did already get the front bumper wrapped. Took it to Clear Auto Bra, Michigan. Larry here in Plymouth did a fantastic job wrapping this bumper today, actually, and yesterday. So we'll show you guys this in a little bit more detail in the daytime sometime, but Larry actually wrapped the white part under the hood, so this whole front clip, the piano black plastic, and the headlights. And it's actually a pretty intricate wrap job where you have a lot of little divots and pieces that kind of intersperse, a lot of different cuts that are made to basically protect everything in the front end, including this piano black spot down here. It's going to see a lot of action on track, so it's nice to have it protected. And the rest of the car, I just kind of threw a coat of wax on it. So we'll get it ceramic coated later on this winter, or maybe in the spring, get it polished out. The paint was actually in pretty good shape from the factory, so that's nice. The wheels, I mean, everything's completely stock. I haven't done anything to this car yet. I just took delivery a few days ago. Wheels are the 19s with the 265/30 R 19-inch Pilot Sport 4S's. Not really sure what I'm going to do for a wheel and tire option in the winter. I don't think I'm going to throw winter tires on this. Probably going to find a set of 18-inch all seasons and go from there. So I still want to retain some of the performance that this car has in the dry, and leave the BRZ to winter duty. All right, back seat, pretty Spartan. The Type R is only a 4-seater, so pretty spacious though. We have the red carpets down here, plenty of room to stretch out, put your feet out. Like I said earlier, I can put my son in his rear-facing child seat, and there's plenty of room for a passenger seat in front of that. Looks like there might be ambient lighting back here, but there actually isn't. I wonder if that's a JDM thing. You do get an Alcantara armrest though, and this wonderful view of the Type R seats. You can see there is ambient lighting right here. And if we start up the car, greeted by this little chime. You might be able to see down by the footwell, there's a little bit of red ambient lighting down there too, which is pretty cool. Of course, red carpets up front. No red seats in the back, unfortunately. I think the JDM market gets red seats back there. That would be a fun accessory to get sometime. But for now, I've just got to live with the red seats up front, which are absolutely phenomenal. One of my favorite things about this car. They're super supportive, really well bolstered, very comfortable, and just so freaking cool in my opinion. Love this interior. Shift knob is freezing in the wintertime, but that's okay. We've got individual mode all set up here. Let's show you guys what that's all about. Pretty much have everything in comfort. Rev matches in sport, gauges in plus R, and I have rev matching turned off. And I think I'm pretty much going to leave it off in this car, except for track duty. We'll talk a little more about that later. Yeah, I mean, the rest of this interior, you guys have seen it. No Alcantara steering wheel for the US market. That is an option that you can go out. It's actually not that expensive. It's about $250, $300 for the Alcantara wheel on some Honda dealer websites that I've seen. I just don't know if I really want to go Alcantara. I think this leather actually feels really nice. It looks great, and it'll wear much better over time. Type R logos in the floor mats. Fantastic shifter. This feels so much more solid than the previous gen FK8 shifter. We'll get more into some driving impressions here in a bit. Let's pop the hood real quick, and then we'll go for a drive. There it is, 315 horsepower, needs about 600 miles of break-in before I can enjoy it. So far I've been averaging about 24.5 miles to the gallon in this car, driving a mix of city and highway. 91 octane is recommended, but 87 is the minimum requirement. You could run your Type R on regular fuel. I don't think I'm going to, but it's nice to know that you can do it. Completely enamored with the design of this new FL5. I think this just looks so good. It has such presence on the road. It's so wide. The stance is really, really cool on this car. I think Honda nailed the wheel offset, the fender design. I mean, all the body panels on this Type R are unique to it, except for the roof, the hatch, and the mirrors, and the front door. Everything else is specific to the Type R, which is pretty cool. All right, I want to show you guys real quick one thing before we set off. One question that came up from our videos in California was, can you disable the red line shift beep? If you hit red line and this loud beep comes up, and it's kind of annoying to be honest. Well, yes, you can, and here's how you do it. You go into vehicle settings, meter setup, and at the very, very bottom, there's a menu to turn on and off the shift up alarm. And that is where you can disable it, which is pretty cool. So lots of different settings in here that you can enable, disable. I have rev matching disabled, and like I said earlier, I'm going to leave that pretty much disabled, I think, for the majority of my ownership of this car, except for maybe track days occasionally. All right, let's take this thing for a drive. I'm actually going to put us back into comfort mode. This gauge cluster is pretty neat at night, pretty minimal. I love the red ambient lighting accents in this interior, very cool. These have been some enjoyable initial break-in miles. We've got 149 miles on the clock, and usually I'm a little bit bummed that I can't push a car when I get one, and I have to put some break-in miles on it. But this Type R is just so enjoyable to drive all the time, so engaging, that I've really had a good time in this thing the last few days. The big surprise here is just how responsive the throttle is. It almost feels naturally aspirated. Doing the rev matching myself is an absolute pleasure, easy to drive smoothly. I feel like I can nail every single shift in this car pretty much every time. The steering is great, the weight is just perfect. And in comfort mode, I feel like this is kind of all you need. It's the perfect drive mode. Everything is calibrated so well with this Type R. I think Honda really took this new FL5 to the next level, and it's not just in performance, it's just in how the way this car feels, the interior design, the exterior design. There's a lot of little improvements, little changes that they've done here that really add up, I think, and make this car extra special. I don't really think this is going to be the best car for me to drive in the wintertime. Ground clearance is pretty low. The shifter's freezing when you start up the car. There's no handbrake, can't do handbrake turns, can't disable traction and stability control unless if you're in plus R mode. And of course, the 19-inch wheels are not pothole friendly. So I'm really glad actually I set up the BRZ for winter duty, and might be throwing a lift on that soon actually. So that'll have the perfect amount of ground clearance and capability for winter driving, and the Type R I think will be the daily when it's dry and not too snowy out, which honestly is the majority of our winter here in Michigan. So I am going to be driving this in the winter. I'll probably take it to Crown and get it coated too, get it rust proofed. But yeah, right now I just want to get these break-in miles on and figure out some type of an all-season setup, and we can just keep enjoying this car. So some initial thoughts on driving this thing. The biggest thing I'm noticing is just the solid feel, the quality, the engagement. This is just a really, really nice car to daily and cruise around in. It's a little bit loud on the highway. That's pretty typical of anything with a set of Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's that I've noticed. Just a little bit more road noise, a bit more tire noise. That may change if we change the wheel and tire setup here soon. So I'm curious to see how that compares to a set of all seasons, maybe a slightly smaller wheel diameter instead of 18s. The Honda sensing is fantastic. Haven't been engaging cruise control too much on break-in, but it's really nice to have adaptive cruise with a manual transmission. The steering assist works great. I mean, this is just a phenomenal system that Honda's done a really nice job developing. I don't feel like I can't trust the Honda sensing system to freak out on me and be unpredictable. It's just a little bit more livable than the last generation FK8 Type R's sensing system was after 2020 when they introduced that. So that is really nice. I mean, from a practical standpoint, as a daily driver, this really does check a lot of boxes. I think there are a few things here that are a little bit less than ideal, in the sense that, okay, you know, maybe Honda could have had a bit more fun with this car. They could have made it sound a little bit better. They could have given us a handbrake. But I think the rest of this car is so good that it makes up for a few of those oversights. Taking it easy on these tires. It is 35 degrees outside. So what about some night driving impressions? This is a great interior at night. The gauge cluster is really easy to dim. You can make it super dark so you can see as much as possible outside the car. Love that. There's a little beep when you reach minimum brightness and maximum brightness. But just one click under maximum seems to be kind of the sweet spot. Really cool looking interior. Love the switch gear, the way it feels, the way it sounds. This plus R gauge cluster is pretty special. God, this car's good. The brakes feel amazing. Such a good stiff pedal. These Brembos are really powerful, and they seem to do pretty well in the cold too. No squealing. For how track capable they were around Sonoma, it's amazing they can be so docile on a daily basis. Can't wait to see what it's like being able to push it on some more familiar roads around here in Michigan. We'll take you out for plenty of drives this winter and enjoy it even more when the weather warms back up in the spring and the summer. Alright guys, well those are just some quick first impressions. Of course, the big elephant in the room with the Type R right now is just all the crazy markups that we're seeing, anywhere between $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000. Some dealers are just going crazy. We saw the same thing with the FK8 when that first came out, and things calmed down after a couple shipments and about a year or so in production. We'll see if there's a recession that might bring prices down a little bit. But I think the best thing to do right now is just remain patient, get on some lists, find a dealer that is on the reasonable side. I have a local dealer that I've seen as low as $5,000 markup on the first couple shipments, and then I think they're going to move to MSRP. I realize that I'm definitely in a fortunate position to be able to get my hands on this car very early on, and as a result, I definitely want to give you guys as many videos as you want to see on this thing. If you have any questions, any specific things you'd like to know about the Type R, feel free, let me know in the comments, and glad to answer some of those questions with videos in the future. But for now, just going to get this thing past break-in and take it on some good driving roads, enjoy it around locally, and maybe do a little bit of road tripping in this thing this winter. Who knows? Take it out to Kentucky, see if we can get some dry weather, and maybe even take it out to M1 Concours on the set of all seasons, enjoy it a little bit, see what this is like to track with a little bit less grip, not on Pilot Sport Cup tires. We've also got some pretty exciting stuff coming here with the BRZ soon too. So stay tuned for that. Lots to come, and very excited to finally have this in the garage. As always, let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.